Welcome to a new video lesson. In today's lesson, I will give an analysis of Clear Light of Day by Anita Desai. So, let's begin. In my last class on Clear Light of Day, I was discussing the chapter, that is chapter 2 I was discussing. The situation that was then was Raja is ill because of tuberculosis and he is not in his own self, as in he is in a position where he constantly wants to go and help Hyder Ali, whom he admires very much. So lying on his bed, where Beam is trying to console him, where Beam is trying to read out to him in order to help him out of this mental agony. But Raja is always at thinking how he could help Hyder Ali and what the conditions of the family of Hyder Ali is facing. So one thing that it is important to mention, that I have mentioned before also in class also, I have mentioned that this chapter is of past. Okay, so if we can name the chapter, we can name the chapter as chapter 1 as present, chapter 2 as past, chapter 3 as further past, and chapter 4 as present again. So what we see here is that this novel is not just a nostalgia. It would be wrong if we call it a nostalgia. Okay, there is a lament for what is lost, or there is this description of the loss, what they will lose. First of all, there is the description of the loss in the first chapter, and in the following two chapters, chapter 2 and 3, how the loss has happened, and the contrasting picture has been presented through of that loss. Okay, the lament for what was lost is not rose tinted looking back. Okay, so it does stop merely at lament, and it echoes and circles around itself endlessly. It circles around these points of losing oneself, the position where one loses oneself. Okay, the real significance of the past lies here is a vexing question it possesses of how to live in the present when the present is constructed from the past. Okay, so we all know that in chapter 1, Tara has come back. She is mother of 2 girls, but here we are seeing that situation where when they are still teenagers, they are in college. Okay, whatever. So let's get into the text. So Raja is here constantly worried about the condition of Hyder Ali. So Beam is asking Raja that won't you go up to the roof again and see what's happening. So there, see, one thing at a time we can say that the partition is going on, the riots are going on, but there is no direct mention of it. There is constant hint about it. It says, Beam says, won't you see what's happening? So what is happening actually? The question remains. The question is, what is happening? It refers to the riots, the persecution, or the destruction of the property, those things are happening. Okay. um, so Raja is asking Bhim whether she would go to the roof and see it again or not. Okay. Bhim was surprised to ask, where? On Bela Road? At the Raja said, of course, at Hyder Ali's. Explained with an irritating, go up and see. So he asks him to go and see, asks her to go and see. So sometimes Bhim grumbled and to see. She was tired to know and knew nothing what was happening on Bela Road or in the Hyder Ali's garden or in the Mira's compound, anywhere closer than horizon, where the city was smoldered and smoked by day and blazed by night. Unquote. So what we see here is that the condition of the society is the same. It is very difficult to decipher what is happening where. Everything between their house and the horizon is the same. Everywhere smoke was there throughout the day, and there was fire by the night. Every night there was fire. So everything is shown in a clear cut, in a simplistic, in a somewhat innocent way. Okay, where there is no description of the murder, but under these words, smoked by day and blazed by night, this symbolizes, this hints that throughout the night there has been fires burning all around to destroy the properties, to destroy several places. And the fire was so huge, the fire was so engulfing that it caused smoke throughout the day. So it was same all around. So sometimes she was glad to leave the stuffy room. So what we see here is that there is a dilemma. There is a constant flux between what to do and what not to. She has to help. She has to keep the wishes of Raja, and also she is out of tiredness is not willing to help him or to do any job which is so boring. He could see a number of things like a bicycle wobbled drunkenly out of the servants' quarter at the back of the house, and past the guava trees. The washerman was going in at the Mishra's gate, a neatly tied bundle of white washing on their head. A dog barked in Hyder Ali's garden. That was all. It was nothing. So there is the boring stuff, there is normal activity going on, one day less than nothing. When Bhim says to Raja that the house seems empty, Raja was in a condition not to believe it. And Bhim says that, I think they are gone. Raja, as if he does not know whom Bhim was watching, he asks, who? Bhim irritably says, Hyder Ali, of course. And Raja becomes a frenzied person. Gone where? Raja, I don't know, Raja. So, but then, go and find out. So what we see here is that This person, this Haider Ali, Haider Ali is a person who has been a mentor for him, who appears to be a mentor for him, who has been the big other for him. There, he is not able to grasp, he is not able to accept that he is gone now. Okay, he is filled with hopelessness. There was no one except Bim. Everything was left to her. Aunt Mira was strangely absent. This is important because in chapter 3 we will see that in every instance, in every sphere of their life, Aunt Mira is present to guide them. Okay, but here we will see that Aunt Mira is not in herself. Aunt Mira is in a position where she is not able to help these children. Okay, so Bim says that there is never anybody except me. So now in present condition, what we will see that no one is there for Bim except Baba. So what we see here is that even Tara is not present at the house. Okay, so Tara had never an inkling about what is going on in the family. She was always a childish person who was always concerned with becoming a mother, as she will say in the 3rd chapter. And also what we will see here is that she is concerned about getting out of this house. Okay, so Bim says that Bim asks Raja he can call me and he will wait, and she will wait, Bim will wait for Tara. And the line says, Tara was always out now. So in a situation where their mother figure is in a perpetually diseased condition, where she has lost her mind, where she has become addicted, that is, Aunt Mira has become addicted. Their father is not at home, their mother has died. But now Tara is a person who is not Tara is not a person who is going to stay and take care of the family. She is out there. She is out there in order to find her own match, in order to get out of this family. Okay, since their mother's death and Raja's illness, she had been going to the mishras every evening, and they would often take her to cinemas. Okay, so and they would bring her back in the family car quite punctually. Only now Aunt Mira seldom managed to stay up so long. So Aunt Mira, who had held the family, in chapter 3 we will see how she had came along in their lives and held their lives together. Except now she is nowhere. She cannot stay long. Her own room and vanished into her bed. Neither Tara nor her aunt at the rabble, their plates turned upside down. What we see here is that in this section, in chapter in page 94, you will see in the first paragraph, we will see that Bim's development of the motherly roles. She is mother to her students, as we have seen in the first chapter. Okay, but here we will see that Bim's development of the motherly roles is shown here. She is watching her out from the corner of the eye. the Raja's bedside, and then Bhim would also keep on waiting for Tara. Okay, sometimes she went into the dining room for dinner and found neither Tara nor her aunt at the table with plates turned upside down and waiting for the tablecloth to be turned around. Okay, what we see here is that, but Aunt Mira is huddling under a blanket. She is constantly receding to her own life, receding to a life of her own where the other people have no entrance, where other people have no importance. Bim went and sat on the veranda and waiting for Tara in place of her aunt. So what we see here is that the role that Aunt Mira used to play, she used to wait for Tara, she used to feed them, she used to take care of them. But what we see here is that Bim is taking those steps, taking the steps in order to control the house, in order to control the crisis that is in the house. Okay, Baba sat there on the veranda steps beside the pot, and Baba's presence too was so much less than a presence, because he was always within her own senses, and these senses are not for others to feel. These senses are of his own world. And what he had a handful of pebbles that Anmira had given him years ago, with which he played perpetually, so that they were quite smooth and round from use. He used to scatter them across the tiles and later, quietly unfolding gesture of his hand, gathered them up again. Okay, it gave time a continuity and regularity. This, so the image is like this: Beam is sitting on the veranda and Baba is on the veranda steps. He is playing with the pebbles, and he would throw the pebbles out and again collect them. This throwing and collecting is signifying the passing of the time. The time is passing, but the actions that are happening in the house are the same, happening over and over again. But the pebbles gave the time a motion. Okay, so what this shows that this time, this figure of a house, the condition of the house is same like the condition of Baba. It grows out of time to very little extent. Okay, it does not go to have a rapid change. But what we see here is that this rapid change is missing in this family, but this rapid change is present, or a constant change is present in the family of the Mishras. We will see that how the Mishras, the Mishra family is a contrast to the family of the Das. Tara's lets Bim said to him, to herself, sighing, shows that the perpetual sameness of the clock hands. What we see here is that the constantly happening of the same things shows the morbidity of the situation. This shows that how in the presence of Baba she is alone, as it is in the present, a premonition of the future. Okay, that is the present. So as I said today also, the first chapter refers to the present, okay, the present time, and second chapter to the past, So in past, Tara is being waited for. Bhim is waiting for Tara with Baba by her side, and Baba is constantly playing with those pebbles. This shows the presence of Baba by Bhim's side, where she is all alone. This gives an idea, this gives a premonition that what will happen in future. Okay, what will happen in future is being said here. Okay, as if it is hinted over here. In present too, that is in future, that is which is now present, she is all alone, and only one who is left with Bhim is Baba. Clear? She knew Tara could come to no harm. Harm was beyond Tara's childish capacity. So she was there, she was wondering at Tara going again and again to visit the Mishra sisters. Although their school years they had chafed at this too close relationship with the girls they considered dull and conservative. But as they were neighbors and so they had to cycle to school together, it was considered safer for 4 girls to bicycle together than and for 2 groups of 2 girls. Okay, so the thing went on, but what we see here is that this has went on for Tara. This bonding, this belonging of Tara has went on with the Mishra sisters, whom Bhim had considered dull-witted and not enough inclined to studies. Okay, but when Bhim finished with school and went on to college, she was relieved that Mishra girls did not follow. Tara took to visiting them on her own. We will see in the 3rd chapter that how Bhim felt uncomfortable in their company when their marriage, when their engagement was done and everything. So what we see here is that there are 2 perspectives for the 2 girls, for the 2 sisters. For Tara, it has always been making a family. It has always been creating a family and feel bonded to the family. Whereas for Bhim, it has always been to live independently. Okay, so Bhim here is being relieved. Bhim is relieved that she is not facing the sisters. She is not facing the sisters here. Whereas Tara kept on visiting them. Bhim had known them. Tara had said that they are taking her to the club. When Tara returned that night, Bhim had known in those bones that jarred every time Baba threw his pebbles, and she would have someone with her when she came. She knew that there was someone. And Tara told, "This is Bakul," told her in an almost inaudible murmur, turning their mother's bracelet about her wrist round and round. The Mishras, she stammered, took us to the Roshnara club. There was a dance, whatever. So, what we see here is that what is most important over here is the inaudible murmur. Okay, the inaudible murmur, the way that Tara is speaking is important here, because the same thing is present now. In presence of Bakul, in presence of some higher authority, which is Bakul now and which was Bhim then, she used to speak in an inaudible way. So the same inaudible murmur that is still present in Tara. If we analyze her position, Tara is always in fear of authority. She is afraid to speak in front of authority. For her, the authority is Bhim in this chapter when she was not married, and after her marriage, she is unable to exert her opinion to Bakul. Okay, while she stammered, Bakul tried gallantly and helped with some polished assurance of phrases and everything. He introduced him and talked about what they are up to, that they like each other and everything that is being told. Tara also in a whisper said that, almost in a whisper, said that this is my aunt. Okay, so there is also a contrast between in Tara and Bakul. They are completely of opposite nature. Bakul would speak gallantly and quite expressively, where he says that he has come to ask Tara out to a party that will be happening the next day, and he's asked for the permission, and he also says that the Mishra girls will be coming, and in order to get Tara back home, he says that Tara can come back with the Mishra girls. So what we see here is that the character of Bakul is clear cut. Okay, he is not in a state, he is not going to speak in a murmur, he is not going to speak, he is not speaking inaudibly, he is clear, he speaks in a clear and distinct way. Okay, and they that is the sister Bhim and Aunt Mira who came to the veranda to see. After that Tara had introduced her, they were staring at Bakul in a fashion as if a young prince have came down on a horseback to sweep Tara from their feet or take Tara away from them. What they saw in Bakul was that he was groomed well, he was good looking, and most importantly well spoken young man, in contrast to the murmuring tendency of Tara. Here we see that Bhim is giving the assent. She is saying that yes, Tara may go. Can't she, Miramasi? So what we see here is that though Miramasi is the head, so-called caretaker of the family, so-called elder, but the power now resides within Bhim. This is a typical characteristics of this novel, that the thing that is going to happen in the next paragraph or the next lines or the next few instances is being depicted in a subtle way. So what we see here is that Bhim is becoming the head of the family. She is becoming the guiding force. She is becoming the deciding factor. Okay, in spite of Miramashi being present, though her consent is asked for, but only after Bhim is giving the approval. Okay, why this is important, I will say in a minute. What we see here is that Aunt Mira nodded frantically to give the assertion that she can go. Aunt Mira with a loud hiccup, yes, I do. She dipped her face in the tumbler and drank. Tara had presented them. She didn't notice on remark on her aunt hastily pouring the drink. But the prospect was entirely for Beam to survey what can happen and what cannot, as their father died suddenly when he was coming back from a club one night. One night when he was coming back from the club, as usual, the only destination he went. So, as we will know that he even did not go to his office. He walked from home, whatever. So what we see here is that how did he die? The car had bumped slightly against the curb of the traffic roundabout on a deserted street on the ridge. The slide bump had caused the door to fly open and their father to be flung out. He was dead of a broken neck. Okay, there is nothing more to describe. It could scarcely be called an accident, so minor was it in appearance and harmless. There was no damage to the car at all. When the driver stopped the car and ran out to him, there was no damage to the car itself, but the owner of the house, the so-called head of the family, had already died. Okay, Bhim's father was never existent in the family. This sudden death was so bleak, was so minuscule, was so minor incident in their lives, as minor as his presence in the family. Okay, so he was dressed his usual dark suit for the club with white handkerchief and everything, with a cigar in his breast. He seemed prepared for death, as if it were an evening at the club. So what we see here is that humor and pathos are constantly mixed together. Few of the people, mostly club members and the bridge players who came for the condolence, realized how little difference his death made to the household. Okay, because Bhim's father was dead for the family long before his actual death. He was never present, he never performed his father's duties. The only duty that he did was giving birth to them, or lending or giving her semen, not even taking care of. There is no mention of whether he took care of his wife or not during pregnancy, but he has not performed anything for the children. Okay, so they realize that the people who has come along for the condolence, that he didn't matter to the family. He was the provider of money only, but he had no emotional attachment with the children, neither the other way. Okay, so they were so accustomed to the absence that it was but a small transition from the temporary to the permanent. Underline if you can. So the transition was the absence. The absence was temporary for them when he was alive. Okay, he would be present at night and everything, but now the absence will be permanent, will be a permanent one, which didn't matter to them. He left so little behind. A wardrobe full of very dark, somber suits, a very white and crisp shirts and everything, filled with office files, desk filled with office files. He never just come to the end of the stock of cigars. There was not one left for his son to try if he wanted. Okay. Or give his room a familiar whiff of mighty linger. For a while, all that disturbed the children was the continuous presence of the car in the garage. It made them uneasy. Okay, so the garage was the car was constantly out, but this uneasiness was felt by them as the car was not taken along. So what we see here is that the father figure, okay, he is the father figure, biologically the father, but he has not performed any duties, so I am saying him the father figure, because you need to perform your duties to become a father, right? So what we see here is that the absence has become permanent, but the presence of the car, which also is aligned into the father, is a constant worrisome, a constant kind of repulsion for the children. So they were not sure what to do of the car, what to do with the car. So Bhim asks Raja what to do, and in return Raja called the son of the garage owner and sold him the car at the very first price that was offered to him. Okay, the next day it was taken. For Bhim it was a bit difficult, as he saw the car while she was going to college. She felt that the unfamiliar figures would creep up, but the car was not sold, could not be sold because of the old model, and Bhim often saw it from number 9 bus window till only its rusted skeleton was left. So what we see here is that the only thing that reminded, that happened to be the present, that happened to show the presence of the father, rusted away, as the memories of the father rusted away. But what happened to the driver? The driver looked more menacingly. The driver, after waiting a while, as if in expectation for the car being returned to him, finally got to his feet. The driver was sitting, right? After the car was taken, the driver was sitting there waiting for the car being returned to him. He waited that in expectation that the car would be returned to him. Finally he got to his feet and began to help the gardener by mending his hosepipe and oiling his shears, while Bhim wondered what to do. Then this problem too was resolved quite simply and accidentally. The gardener was called home to his village, since his elder brother had died and he was required to work on the farm. The driver moved in to take his place. So what you see here is that there is a constant movement, but there is somewhat sinister about it. Something is falling into place, something is happening at a slow, dull, mundane way, where there is you cannot call it a progress, you can just call it a movement. There is a constant movement, in a harmful way, the death, the destruction. Okay, the effect of death in the family was pecuniary only, for the father had been, if nothing else, was a provider of money. Okay, when the junior partner at the insurance firm came to call on the family after cremation, attended largely by the office staff and bridge players distinguished by their age, apparel, and complexion. Even Raja got himself out of bed, and they were talking. The drawing room was still petrified with the parents' lifetime and everything. So, Raja was still feverish, and he had been to the cremation at the height of the afternoon to light the father's funeral pyre, and he spoke rapidly, gesturing with his hands, which had grown very long and thin and artistic, that he does not care what his father has written in his will. He don't want to be a partner in the firm. Okay, and he said that he is not a businessman. He is not. Beam burst into agitation to decide what would happen to the family. Beam, I know what I am saying. Raja said that he knows what he is saying, and he suggested that Baba can take whatever position father meant for me. So Raja is of another hook. Raja is believing in another thing, that he is not there to work as a businessman. If it can be given to Baba, it will be given to Baba. It should be given to Baba, that is their youngest brother. So what we see here is that the reluctant father that Mr. Das was, the reluctancy is seen in Raja also. Raja is reluctant to be the businessman that his father wanted to be. Okay, so what we see here is that he is not willing to take the steps. Rather, he is willing to give it to a boy. He is willing to give it to his little brother, who is not a stable person. Okay, who is, it can be said, mentally ill, who is a challenged person. Okay, so what we see here is that the family is only challenged with the possibilities of existence. This possibility of existence needs to be counter-attacked, but it is not. It needs to be, it has been dodged and survived. They are dodging and surviving. Bhim resisted the idea of giving Baba the charge, obviously for the reason of he being challenged person. So he resisted and said Raja that he is making fun of him. But as Bhim said that as Bhim said Raja that Baba cannot go to office. In return, a person from the firm, a person from the office is smoothed that out and said it is not necessary for them to go to office. It is not necessary for Baba to go to office, as he described that their father was also not concerned about the day-to-day administration. He left all to that person and the staffs. They can manage all that. All they need is the name and the signature. The name must remain. Okay, so the name must remain in order to run. So what we see here is that the Bhim, in the first chapter, when Bhim was asking whether Baba wants to go to office, this is what he is talking about, what she is talking about. Okay, and Bhim was surprised. Is that all? And you see, he told her, don't you think Baba can manage that much? just signing papers? No, he can't, Bhim said more sharply. But you can. Nonsense. They argue over the thing. Let him grow up, let him take the little responsibility. So Raja is advising, Raja is rather telling that Baba should take responsibility. Okay, simple tasks should be given to Baba in order to perform. See if he can't manage. What if he can't manage? What then? So they are arguing over the thing. Raja is advising to make Baba to take the responsibility, right? But ironically, he himself, who is a able-bodied person, a sharp-witted person, is not willing to take it. He himself is not taking. What we see here is that the difference, the decadence in the family. Okay, this decadence is constantly being projected here. This decadence shows that how this person, this family constantly is stuck in a same place where nothing develops. Okay, it never progresses. All this thing that happens for, it has a downward curve. It is always deteriorating. Okay, the progress is on the side of happening, which is of destruction. Whatever the person, Mr. Sharma said, he can bring files here to the house for you to see, and they can see. You do that, Mr. Sharma, Raja said hurriedly, and that was done. Bhim warned him again in his face. He had to get back before the curfew. And Raja, then that's all, Raja said, and Baba would be given the name. Baba would be owner of the partner of the firm, insurance firm. She said, and she took down the thermometer and the professional air. Whatever, what we see here is that there is a constant decadence. There is another thing that he said, dramatically gesturing towards the door. He said, the city is burning. Delhi is being destroyed. The whole country is split up and everyone is becoming a refugee. So, what we see, our friends have been driven away, perhaps killed, and you ask me to worry about few checks and files in father's office. So, no, there is only for me to worry about. So, what we see here is that Raja is a philosophical one, where a Bhim is a practical one. Okay, so Raja is not concerned about his own existence or how the money will come to the house or how well he can run the business. Rather, he is more concerned about Hyder Ali, about the outside conditions. He is a person who is much more into rhetorical stuff, where he could go and help out and in a chivalrous way deal with all the things. The next thing that Bhim says that the only thing that she worries about is their existence. What he says, adore as her father, as their house, popping the thermometer in the mouth, that and the rent to be paid on the house, and 5, 6, 7 people to be fed every day. So what we see here is that Bhim is becoming the mother figure, Bhim is becoming the head of the family, Bhim is stepping into the shoes of a person who should run this house. That running of the house was till then divided into Miramashi, divided into the father, the mother, and the servants. She is accumulating all those shoes into one and trying to help them out. Okay. She is also concerned about Tara to be married off, Baba to be taken care of for the rest of his life, and you to get well again and everything. Raja sputtered a bit, or the thermometer wobbled. Don't talk, Bhim said. So we will deal with the next part of this chapter in the next section. But till this time, what we see here is that the father and the mother, who were already absent due to their absence, is now completely absent because of their death. And in their absence, Bhim is taking the shots. Bhim is trying to control the thing that should be done in the family. Though the right thing would have been if Raja would have taken the business, but as the decadence of the family is constant, the dull-witted, the person and who cannot control his own life is left to left to make the decisions for the company and to provide earnings for the family. This is how society has turned to. This is how the family of the Das had turned to. Okay, so we will end it here. Thank you.